Welcome back, everyone, to Let's Play Supreme Ruler Ultimate, episode number 19. We're going to start off with some role-playing stuff, but first I want to kind of recap what's going on here. NATO has been actually making a very strong push north, and I want to make some out-of-character, or some... I guess I'm going to remove myself from my character. We're going to go out of character for a little bit and discuss some of these issues. The issue I have with France reconquering all of China is I want it, right? No, actually the main issue is frankly just this issue with Leningrad. And I reached out to the Battle Goats. They have a Discord and there's some active people there. I've reached out to them to try to see if there's any way to solve this problem or if there's any potential movement on that front. As far as I saw, there's a thread dating back from 2015 about this. And I didn't read the whole thread. This is on the Battle Goats forum. And maybe they have multiple forums set up, but I think I just went to like battlegoats.com or whatever. I think it is their main forum at this point. So I didn't read through that whole thing, but I jumped to the end, and somebody had proposed a solution which supposedly was taken in and incorporated, but I kind of hope that maybe it didn't get updated so that there's hope for me to fix this, solve this issue. I don't know. We'll have to see what happens. Okay, so what do I want? What do I not want, really? I don't want France to take all of China, because then they're going to be constantly ferrying forces back and forth. And what that's going to mean is just more deaths. Ideally, what I want is absolutely zero European countries in Asia and zero Asian countries in Europe. And the latter is really easy. In fact, there's not even a big deal because the Asian countries don't go to Leningrad. But for some reason, the European countries do. And that's the problem we currently have with France and then England sending reinforcements and all that. And what I'd really like to have is I'd like to take over China and just release it as a neutral country. And what I could do is force France to do that. That's not impossible. That's quite possible. I guess that this territory is considered... Okay, it's North Vietnamese and South Vietnamese. So what I could do is have France actually release all these nations as not even colonies. And why do I want them to not be colonies? If they're colonies, I think France will still send forces to defend. If you're a colony, I don't even think you're allowed to have your own army. Okay, so now what is the stuff that I'm going to do in this episode? We're going to watch NATO, and I kind of like the ideal situation now. I'm thinking, again, this is not in character. This is a just comment on the game mechanics. If China was able to take over all of this, we would have the means of taking it all over for ourselves and releasing all these nations without me having to swap save games back to the multiplayer thing, do all that work. But it might be just wishful thinking, and I'm okay with doing that as France, loading up as France, releasing these countries, saving, and then, jumping back to the Americans, if that's what ends up needing to be happening. Okay, so now let's do the role-playing stuff. 2 videos ago, we had Geo-political, once again, an enormous and amazing news entry. This is March 10th, so you can see we've actually gone 3 months since then. March 10th, U.S. ground forces withdrawn. I won't read the whole thing. I recommend that you do. Go back to episode 17 and read Geo-political's news article. Uncertainty grips Southeast Asia as conflict enters new phase. In what has been described as the most complex evacuation since Dunkirk, the last combat units of the U.S. Expeditionary Force have left Vietnam. By land, air, and sea, American personnel have made it to the safety of neighboring states. Thailand, Taiwan, Korea, and the Philippines are now hosting thousands of troops awaiting further deployment. Over the past 2 months, the scope of the evacuation is now coming into focus. Codenamed Operation Goodnight, United States forces fell back in stages, sending their less mobile units first, while the armor orchestrated rearguard actions. And you do remember that we had Fortress Vinh. Let me zoom in a little bit. Fortress Vinh was like the point we moved up our armor and then moved the infantry out. So... okay. Logistics proved challenging as military contingents traveled along roads already cluttered with refugees fleeing the fight. But moving through the night, the lead columns reached the outskirts of Da Nang. From there, they boarded merchant ships destined for less imperiled waters. After the bulk of the army had made its way south, the order was given to the beleaguered defenders of Vinh to pull back. On January 21st, the last American tanks rolled out of the now unrecognizable city under cover of darkness. So great, I'm going to stop there, but it's just fantastic article. Scrolling down, just looking down for later in the article, it says evacuations were eventually completed on January 30th. That's when we left Da Nang. And there's a quote. Yeah, great stuff. Okay, so then we have Jim Smith was talking about parts of the floor speech of the U.S. Senate in the aftermath of the withdrawal of ground forces from Vietnam. And then we had Representative Walt contributing some comments, mostly pro-war. Then in the last video, so I didn't have a chance, unfortunately, to put those, but I probably won't be doing this every episode because it'll bog us down quite a bit. But we have Senator Robinson, actually almost exactly of my same opinion, my personal opinion. So we'll just call that President Tortuga's opinion. That we can just let the NATO allies take care of this war. And I kind of like that idea. The reason is they're already doing a great job. We don't have to invest any more forces. I'm a little bit worried that even the NATO forces themselves are going to add provocation to the other countries and then cause this whole thing to the world to spy. So the analogy I used most recently was, what good is it to cut off the head of one Hydra if 10 more spawn in its place? So we don't want, this is not a fair analogy because China is an enormous Hydra head. And no matter what, even if a lot of other countries turn communist, well, there's almost nothing that's left that is neutral, which is comparable to China. So it would be a huge blow to the communists. One of the main reasons is I really dislike... It happened. It happened when I wasn't looking. The Soviets have given up Dalian, and that means the Chinese split has happened. Okay, this is huge. Unfortunately, I completely missed that at World Event. I even was going to look it up off camera. This is huge. This is no longer Russian. If you remember in the last video, this was Russian, and now it is Chinese. So that means the Russian-Chinese split has happened. For us, it roleplays very well. We can say that NATO, when they started making progress, scared the pants off of the Soviet Union, who did not want to become involved in a losing war, and probably pulled out. Or probably don't want to officially. Maybe the Chinese put pressure on the Russians to become officially involved, to send troops formally, and maybe that was too much for the Soviet Union to comply with. So very interesting stuff. Okay, so getting back to all these other reports, we have another Representative Walt. Let's see. Pro-war. In fact, one of these. Okay, so we have. Oh, this was a nice one. Gary Generous, Undersecretary for the Deputy Director of the Central Intelligence Agency, which, by the way, was only about 6 years old at this point. I think it's 1949, maybe 1947, when the CIA was created. And they were very pro-war, also saying that even the people saying you shouldn't go to war are actually potentially communist sympathizers or spies, so don't listen to them. Very fun little role-playing there. We had Warwolf doing an unofficial poll. Now, for some reason, I think the thumbs ups, and they seem to appear differently for different people, but for me, 2/3 of the people believe the U.S. must stay in Vietnam and drive the commies out. 1/3 of the people, U.S. has no gain from fighting the Vietnam War and should retreat. The middle ground there would be U.S. just stays and sits on their hands, does nothing, while the rest of the people take care of everything. Spartan of Rome contributed, but... and then we had Senator Tavman, also very pro-war. In fact, he claims he's the head of the Hawk Council. So, yeah. Okay, so let's get to the action. Unpause. Finally, 10 minutes? Our usual 9 minutes of not being paused. But I'm pretty sure we're not going to dive that into detail, especially because we won't always be in this kind of interesting of a role-playing environment. I don't even have my sound on. There we go. This is just kind of the... for example, there wasn't a whole lot of role-playing in episodes 1 through 16, or not that I remember at least, maybe 1 through 14. Whenever this started, things really got serious, and I think everyone's having a lot of fun role-playing because the events have inspired it, right? We're letting the game dictate our history, and if it's believable enough, we can kind of absorb ourselves into it and kind of let the world play out as if it is a fictional thing. So robotic assembly lines is about to finish, and I did queue up the Green Berets. They finally get into the queue, so we can start building a ton of them. One day we'll get to the Globemaster 2 and also the Nike Hercules. I also need to pull out my spreadsheet once again and see which units we need to upgrade, which ones we need to research because they have upgrades. So it'll be pretty interesting, I think, to see how this whole thing unfolds. I don't want to go any faster than fast, because I think that there are some issues, and of course we're going to still have this never-ending death cycle. Oh, 1800. Anyway, I don't want to talk about it. Hopefully we can fix that somehow. Maybe I can... I don't know. If anybody has any suggestions about that, please let me know. So I would like to end that. The funny thing is, I kind of just... I don't know. I don't know why this... Open up everyone as multiplayer and tell them not to use Merchant Marine. I don't know why that didn't work. I believe it should have. Alright, so we are really pushing now. This is all North Vietnamese. This is... yeah. So if we happen to load up as the French, we might release these other colonies as well. As I said, this is specifically so that that France doesn't actually send units this way anymore. So we can do that. We can get behind that, especially now that China is no longer friends with the Russians. But there's it looks like a concerted effort by the Chinese and their M4A1 Shermans to push the NATO forces back. And I have to say, this is kind of enjoyable from a game flow standpoint. Wow, look at this South Korean force. Very, very far cut off. All the units that are dying in this battle, I mean, I'm not happy about the ones dying in Leningrad, but this also applies to them. All the units which are dying are actually going to increase the performance. There's less units calculating movement paths. So the one good that we could do is probably send our supply trucks in. Let's just do that so that we can continue to say we are supporting the war effort. We're going to get supply truck. I thought we had 2. Do we have 2? No. Must have pulled the other one out. Okay, yeah, we don't even have it. We have no forces left there. Where'd they go? Oh, okay, they're here. Alright, good. So we're doing a good job. I think that this... Oh, got it. Okay. Yeah, bad supply here, but worse supply here. So we're going to stick on this side of the border. This is robotic assembly lines, which means that now we should have the Green Berets coming into the picture. Who's next? Modern nuclear medicine. Yep, so that's another one we can get. Is there anything we're missing? No. That's just the chemical warfare, which we don't want. So as soon as this one pops in... Okay, it's popped in. We probably want them in the reverse order. The Hercules first. Okay, I'm just going to force that. There'll be plenty of time for the Globemaster 2 at some point. Yeah, so we're actually losing... I mean, the NATO forces are getting pushed back now. We're just doing our best to provide supply. I think we provide supply to our allies. Yeah, but big pushback, so the Chinese are pushing back now. And I do have a lot of units in the rear. I don't know if we even want to contribute with our Iowas. If they have naval units, we will, but if they don't, I don't think we will. Up to 1824. It's just horrifying to see this. Huge column. Funny thing is, I think the Israel situation is going to erupt soon, and that might complicate matters slightly. Don't do it! What are you doing, Italy? What are you doing, Portugal? They can't be stopped. So I wonder if equally all that merchant marine killing going on in Leningrad is offsetting at least some of our provocation. It should. So now the push is I mean, Vin, which has been taken and then retaken and then taken back and then taken back again, is now once again in communist Chinese hands. We're going to fall back to the very border. This one will be done in 4 days, and then stealth construction, which is going to offer us some stuff. Actually, stealth area designs. Okay, yeah, this is another one that we can just add some stuff. So we might actually even need to find some other stuff to add. I just don't think anything is going to be available from the recon tab. Okay, we need to move back. We're out of here. We did our job. I also moved some units up here, so we occupied the border a little bit more. I don't want them on the actual border. I don't want them bordering. Look at the Chinese. They brought some artillery up to these places. That's smart. It's a good idea. A lot of Turkish forces. The funny thing is, if Turkey goes through some kind of coup, it's going to be funny to see what happens to those forces. Not much to talk about for the moment. 5 units completed. 5 more M103s. Yeah, what is going on with our... I always like to just sit and review the different forces that we have. So unemployment's finally going up. Well, to 2.7. Okay, there's modern nuclear medicine. So as soon as the next day takes over... Oh yeah, we do have to monitor our rubber as well. I think we can just pretend to make it with Malaya. Yeah. Because you can't interact with the colonies, you can only interact with the parents. Alright, we want rubber. Give us rubber. Ah, that's a lot. We'll take it. Interesting. This is a really interesting fight. I really think this is just fascinating. And in some ways, you know, a prolonged fight does not help us. If China ultimately becomes our, like, friendly democratic China. It's funny because democratic China still has this flag, which is confusing, but... Oh, whoa! We took Vin back, but it looks like it'll be taken back yet again, and it is. Bold move by the Renault G1. Looks like a World War I tank. No, it's World War II, but not a very new World War II tank. We can hardly complain about World War II tanks. That's mostly what we're using. Okay, we're up to 3 out of 5 with Nepal. That's perfect. 31.9, very good. So we're ready if they invade here, but I doubt that that's going to happen. We just have a close view of the fighting. Yeah, this will be interesting. I wonder who ultimately will conclude the fighting, because at some point I believe Chinese military approval will drop if they keep losing units. The thing is, as I mentioned, China has such a reserve. So the two most deaths are now China and France. Wow. And although China has taken territory, France still has a large amount of territory total taken from their first war. People have been talking about getting more B-36s. I think several people have asked about building more. How many do we have? We have 44. Alright, so we can get to... We can get to 49 and have 7 groups of 7. Yeah, we can do that. I don't think there's anything infantry-oriented we should be building, or maybe even... Yeah, 60 M103s is a lot. Oh yeah, people were talking about selling different technologies. Somebody even said sell it to Netherlands. Now, the only reason I don't want to sell it to Netherlands is because I'm afraid that they will just end up feeding the Leningrad monster. But someone else mentioned selling stuff to Japan. I think that was Oak Tree. Or Kurt. 2.7. But it's improving slowly. We saw it go from 2.6 to 2.7. It's just kind of amazing the way this fighting has gone. Pushing all the way back and then pushing... Like they pushed us all the way down to here and then we pushed them all the way back up and... Okay, stealth construction is done, so let's get this Globe Master queued in. And what's next? Satellites. Fantastic. And that's going to give us ballistic, which we will absolutely will research. Missile silos maybe not as necessary. We can't get them yet anyways. We need to do all the others, the ICBM side, but we will eventually put missile silos in because we are the United States. We need that nuclear deterrent, right? Speaking of which, what kind of... I don't think there are any... let's see. So this is the old 10 kiloton. 3517. This is, yeah. Like, this one is significantly worse. Can you sell nuclear bombs? Can we sell our nukes to the British, maybe? Well, it looks like we're going to get what we wish for. And by the way, that's completely out of character. So just want to make sure that's really clear. I don't know for people, you know, we're not playing as the United States. I'm not in the capacity of Tortuga, President Tortuga, when I say, I'm so happy NATO's losing. No, Tortuga is carefully considering whether or not to continue to support the war. And by that I just mean that the alternative is not to remove support, but I mean either to support or to do nothing. I mean support, by support I mean to go in and attack. And somebody mentioned, I don't know why this never occurred to me, that we can just sell some stuff. I don't think Taiwan needs it, but Japan maybe. The only reason I don't want to sell them to Japan is because I like to use their airfields. But let's not be so stingy. We will probably sell some. You know, what do I even have right now? The Delta Darts are not for sale. Excuse me. And those are the only interceptors I have. The F4Us are actually useful. I don't want to sell those either. B-52s are all... Yeah, beat that. Neither of these. Huh. I could... I don't want to sell the new ones. Scroll down to the bottom, but... The privateers, wow, these are like 45. Oops. I don't know what year these are for. Maybe 44? 43? 113 visibility. Good range, a bit slow. Not that it matters too much. Sometimes being slow is even a benefit. Yeah, the Mariners are better, but they probably have worse combat rating. Disappointing that I missed that conversion of... I'll have to look it up. Really, I'll still have to look it up. Well, I don't want to go too much faster, but let's kind of take a look at the other stuff. I'll leave this up so we can just keep watching all the carnage. Rubber, we're in good shape. Agriculture, we're in bad shape. We're having more production than... the higher cost of production than the market. Same with coal. Well, metal ore, we don't really make enough for it to matter. We still want to buy... How are sales here? Yeah, we want to purchase through to a 2 million at 4, so, you know, it's not... Nothing has changed here. There's excellent market availability. I don't believe it. How much do we get? We'll have to see how much we get as the day ticks over. No, don't go that far. They want to take Vin again. Ah, they didn't even make it. P-51D Mustang. Yeah, it's a good thing we're not producing uranium. So power is one of the few things we're pretty effective at producing. Mostly coal and petroleum. We'll probably keep both options on the table. Now, if I remember correctly, we are monsters of, yeah, consumer goods. Producing like 4 times what we need. We're probably the world's... I was going to say top exporter, but we are not. We're the top consumer. But that makes sense. We're the top producer. How can we be the top? Ah, there it is. Okay. So we just had a magic day off, and now we're back. Iraq and Afghanistan. That's interesting. We'll keep an eye on that. So does this mean that the NATO forces are now pushing back again, or are they just... This is it? I see that Iowas are now going off. What? No, let's go kill this. This is what I want. There we go. How much damage do we do? Nice. Still probably a pretty good move from the Chinese standpoint to try to cut off the reinforcement point. If Danyang falls, it's over, right? There's no... Well... There might be another port somewhere. We have... the satellites. Okay, so obviously we have to focus on getting whatever we need for the satellites done next, which means modern ballistic missiles. Good. So we don't want anything but that. Gyro-stabilized mounts. Can we get this next? We can. Fantastic. So we get that... Oh my gosh, this is gonna be good. Well, T-64 is not... It's good for the opposition. Oh, the M103A2! Also known as the Conqueror 2 in this game. Oh, wait. Speak of the devil. There it is! So that should automatically be queued. Yeah, armor design's ready to go. Good. Still, does that mean that... Yeah. It's going to be ready next. So 18 and 21, I think this is about the same as the M103. We'll probably end up researching it. What's the patent at? Because I should make sure that the patent is not an upgrade line. So 2033 is just worse, but probably costs less. 107 versus 36. Wow, significantly less. Huh. Yeah, things are kind of coming off the hinges for NATO. And I do need to get these ships repaired as well. I think what I'm going to do here is move the midway over into a protective area. So that way these aircraft get a chance to intercept, to basically do air superiority. Canada coming in. The USSR is almost up to 2,000. I'm really excited about the new research we have coming in. That is just by far my favorite part of the game. So what do we get? We should probably take a look at some of the stuff we just got. This is a lot of known technologies. Okay, just think. We got gyro, stabilized. Sometimes it's easier to not go through this list. It's easier to work backwards from the technology you got. So the gyro stabilized gun mounts don't do anything. These will do something. Okay, fair enough. What was another of the ones that we got recently? So we got satellites. And that allows orbital telemetry, which is a very high maintenance building. We might not want that one yet. Funny, because Ireland is now allied with the Russians, so I probably don't want to do too much business with them. Okay, good. So if I do this, yeah. So the Mustangs here, the twin Mustangs, I guess they serve pretty well. I was going to say we can go retire them, but I do want to sell off some older aircraft. I think that was a really good idea. So let's just start perusing what do we have deployed here. Like, I don't think... Let's see, what's this? 20? It's better than the... It's better than the Lightning. 20 at 27? That's like much better. Okay, let's go back over here. What does this Lightning have? 18 at 7. Okay, so you know what? We will go ahead and send this guy home. He's the last lone survivor of unfortunately a destroyed group. So he will be sold off to the Japanese. And let's take a look at some other aircraft that might also get sold off. So these F2H Banshees, remind me I gotta put those into the fight. These Panthers are worse in pretty much every way. So I think we're gonna get rid of these Panthers, although these are carrier capable, but 17 being less than the Banshee. $21.19. $21.19. Okay, yeah, they're much better. This twin Mustang is gonna be retired. Okay, what's your range? 35. Can just barely make it here. That's good. What do we have here? Why don't you guys just repair? They had one tick of damage. It's all repaired now. Okay, good. Bunch of Easy 8s. Send them... Oh. We could start selling these off. Like this one has 0 kills. The ones with experience we won't. We'll keep around, but I think we're going to start selling off the older ones. You don't have any kills. You have 1 kill. These all have 1 bar of experience. So I think we only keep these 2. So you transport these back to Korea. They're a tip down here just to make it so that we can redeploy them as we see fit. So at this point, oh, what did I? Oh, the summoners all went here, okay. And an Atlanta class, no, Cleveland, okay. Well, let's put the Cleveland back over here. I do like having the Clevelands around. And they're so slow that we should keep them close by. I don't think that any action has come from these aircraft yet. What's this? These Bearcats are a little bit old as well. They are better than the Mustangs though. 16 and 16. Alright. We'll keep them around. I might just go through the rest of these off camera. Oh, look at that lightning. Nope. The KI-84. I didn't know that they had... It might be just... It looks like the lightning to me, but it might be just the model used. They can't put a model in for everything. So I think... Was that supposed to be a tactical bomber? Alright. Too high. And it's just really slow getting that labor. Okay. China is a big, 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 big country. Which means it will be fun to invade one day. It'll be a lot of work. A lot of painstaking work. I was playing Germany on the Eastern Front, attacking into the Soviet Union, and that was a lot of work. Alright, well next time that we have a little incursion by the... by any of those guys, we're gonna see them off. So 2 Sky Raiders, avoid those. We have 4 decent air superiority fighters. I think they're at least better than whatever else is coming. The P-51D, I don't know. Doesn't look good for Spain here. It's really good to see Spain contributing though, because as far as I know they're not an ally. Maybe they are an ally of someone else. Huh. Yeah, we still have a little provocation. I think that this push is going to end poorly for NATO. So this is kind of interesting. I'm going to have to rethink what we're doing here. Because now maybe the US should get involved. Is it time for them to commit? I kind of want to fight those guys. Alright, let's get them to not attack ground units. Just preparing. And that's almost... Da Nang itself is almost going to fall. As I said, that'll really spell an end to this. But there's been a lot of forces lost, my goodness. I always thought that I would be the only one to eclipse 2,000 kills. I mean, in a single player game at least. The Russians are doing it the cheating way. So those pings, by the way, are the British are continuing to miss their payments, their product transfers. I probably asked them to send too much rubber. And they're too gentlemanly to cancel it. Well, I think we're going to call this video to an early close. One of these days I gotta sit down and, well, most importantly, I gotta map out a plan for us in this war. So we're just sitting watching, and it's easy just to sit back and watch. It's a non-decision. We can't decide, so we made a non-decision. But not really a... it's better to make a decision. Actively choose your fate rather than let others do it for you. Huh, French South Vietnamese forces are actually... Oh, this must be a garrison. It is. I mean, they're knocking on the door. Well, will they enter? Will they take the rest of Southeast Asia? Well, they won't. I will definitely not allow them to take Thailand, but that's because they'd have to declare war separately. So yeah, I guess we'll just wrap this one up here. Until the next episode, what do we have to look forward to? On the research front, super carriers, which means, oh gosh, in like one day, yeah, in literally one day, I need to have another thing of research. I'm not ready yet, so we'll put a perfect place to pause. I'll have that ready to go by next time, so until then, thanks for watching, and take care.